Welcome to Colts Law. I'm Lawrence Owen, and today we are going to discuss the pre-training camp press conference by Colts GM Chris Ballard. Now, this press conference was dominated by vaccine and COVID-19 talk due to the fact that it was announced that Frank Reich, who is a fully vaccinated person, contracted COVID-19. Now, with that being said, Ballard mentioned that the team knew Thursday or Friday that he had tested positive, and the entire team knew, coaches and players. And he mentioned that he was incredibly proud of the fact that it shows the kind of people that are in that facility, that they respect each other's privacy and that they don't go around talking about things like that. They were going to allow Ballard to mention it when it was time. And he figured that today during the press conference, it was time to announce that. There were other questions out there about COVID-19, much in the case of, we'll get through this rather quickly. I don't want to talk about the vaccine this entire time. There was other great points, but they were talking about how a lot of the protocols are still in place, that Coach Reich is still in contact. He has zero symptoms, and that they will be using Zoom calls to keep in contact with him and get his thoughts across for this training camp. Bubba Ventrone, who is the special teams coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, will apparently take over the majority of the team responsibilities with Frank Reich out. And that's just because special teams, he's going to have a little extra freedom to move around and make sure that things go smoothly during training camp, especially with the fact that it's a big ordeal with the new fans out there back, allowed to have fans in Westfield at Grand Park. So they wanted to make sure that someone was there to coordinate everything and make sure things went smoothly. Other news that was brought up during this press conference was about the vaccine having to do with the 53-man roster. A question was brought up that when it was time to make cuts in September or August, that would a player who had the vaccine shot have a better shot of making the 53-man roster over someone who hadn't? Ballard's response was simple. After a slight giggle, he says, "No, we want to win." He said that it has absolutely no effect, that he's going to grab the best players out there on the field, that he understands everybody has an opinion and he's going to respect those opinions, and that he understands that he has on this team leaders who are vaccinated and leaders who are not vaccinated, and that he will respect all of their thoughts. Granted, he did mention that there are consequences, not punishment, he said. Consequences just to keep the rest of the team safe, that they will have to go through more stuff to make sure, more protocols than what a vaccinated player will have to go through. Now, other news outside of the COVID-19 and the vaccination is as follows. Paris Campbell and Marlon Mack, both who had Achilles injuries week 1 and week 2, are a full go, along with Kamiko Turay, who had an extra surgery after the season to clean up scarring tissue and such on his ankle. All three guys are a full go for training camp. They said that they will bring in these players slowly because it has been a while, especially Campbell and Mack, that it has been a while since they've been on the field. So they will slowly work them in and get them up to speed, which is great news. there was questions about whether or not this Achilles injury for Marlon Mack would have an effect on his game, as there was a worry about that. And Ballard said, what do you mean? And then Arian Foster was brought up, and Chris Ballard just kind of laughed again and said, how many carries did Arian Foster have before he had the injury? I mean, they rode him, right? Marlon Mack hasn't had that many. He expects Marlon Mack to still be as explosive, apparently, as what he was prior to the injury. As for Campbell, it'll be great to see him back on the field as well. He is one of those players that many Colts fans are hoping will become a breakout offensive weapon for the Indianapolis Colts in the 2021 season. Also, Darius Leonard will miss the first while of training camp this year due to having surgery on an ankle that was bothering him. Apparently, this surgery happened around early June, and he will miss some time. There was no specific return date given by Ballard, but the fact that he will be missing some time does put a little bit of worry about some things. Now, Ballard emphasizes that he is a professional and he's got a good work attitude and that he will work hard to get back on the field, but there is no timetable. Darius's contract was brought up, and he said, absolutely, there are negotiations going on. They haven't reached an agreement which is acceptable on both sides as of yet, but it absolutely is coming through. Now, he was also asked, which I believe had a lot to do with Darius Leonard, do you take in consideration a player's position when paying them a contract, on how much you pay them? And Ballard, again, with his typical little giggle laugh that he has, said, no, you will never go wrong with paying playmakers. You always pay the playmakers. It's something that I have iterated multiple times on my own podcast as well. So don't expect, just because he is an off-ball linebacker, that Darius Leonard or the Indianapolis Colts are expected to pay less money on this contract. This is probably going to be a higher paid contract, probably somewhere around Fred Warner's contract as well. That's just my personal opinion, however. Last but not least, Ballard did say that he was very proud of the team's legal side contacting players that are in extension time this season, which he did not name any players, but I assume, and most of us would also assume, that Darius Leonard, obviously in that conversation, along with Braden Smith, Naheem Hines, maybe even Quentin Nelson and a few others are in this, that the team has been in talks with all of these guys trying to get them an extension made. That's good. But one thing you can say is you haven't heard anything. And I reiterate back from earlier when I discussed about Frank Reich, and no one knowing anything about Frank Reich and his positive test for COVID until 3 days, maybe 4 days later. You will not hear any leaks about players not being happy with offers on the table and things of that nature, because this team is very good about keeping in-house. I want to thank everybody for watching. I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law. We were discussing the training camp press conference by Colts GM Chris Ballard today. And Don't forget, please smash that like button, hit the follow. And if you're watching this on Newsbreak, thank you so much. Please don't forget to check out the link to my YouTube channel as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, please check out Newsbreak. And until next time, as usual, have a good one.